Hi there. Welcome to my lecture on intake assessments for chapter 10. Let's get on into it. So, intake assessments. We're going to look at the role of assessment, approaches to intake assessment, as well as the content involved in intake assessment. So, what is the role of assessment in career counseling? So, career assessment refers to a process looking at the entire counseling relationship from when you meet throughout the process of working together, and you're examining the factors that contribute to decision making as it regards the career, its selection, and the satisfaction. And all that information can be used through gathered by using different multiply used assessments that contribute to the career counseling process. So what you need to understand about your client is their current psychological state, contextual information, educational, occupational history, personal characteristics, and factors related to career decision making. You can also look at table 10.1. Excuse me. It's like the third video I sneezed in. I'm so sorry. It's allergies season. Table 10.1 in your text is something that you could access for more information about that. So when does assessment occur? It's at the beginning of counseling, and you want the intake assessment to be at the beginning before you ever set any goals, because how can you truly set a goal if you don't know all the information needed to be able to set the goals? How can I make a goal for assertive communication if I haven't inquired about communication issues? How can I we're making any referrals for trauma work if I don't know that they've been through trauma, because active PTSD could be something inhibiting their ability to have career success, right? So over the course of the entire counseling process, assessment also occurs because the first time a client enters your office, they may not necessarily feel comfortable to tell you everything about themselves. And trust is something that absolutely, excuse me, absolutely is built over time. You know, there's some clients like me, I'm ready to put my whole story out there because I want to get helped as fast as I can, versus other clients. I've had clients that more than a year into our relationship told me something they never told anybody in their entire life related to sexual trauma. So trust is built over time, and that's part of why I think it's important to recognize it says over the course of the process. So information comes out, you know, you can't do every single assessment in the very first appointment unless it's a pretty long appointment, which maybe you do want to do that. Maybe that is an approach you want to take, but that's obviously something you have to get a client to agree to do. But even then, it's hard to capture all of someone's life if they're 35 in 4 hours, right? Assessments are a helping strategy. In chapter 11 and 12, we'll look at use of assessments over the process of counseling. There's some different format variations. So there's oral assessment, paper pencil assessment, and then there's also computer-based assessment that can be done. In terms of structure variations, there's structured, semi-structured, and open-ended. And then there's also temporal variations that have to do with prior to doing the first appointment, they do it in the reception area while they wait, or they can even complete it in the first appointment. I've seen therapists do it different ways, where maybe it's like part of your intake paperwork is you have to fill out a whole psychosocial assessment where you like do the drop down boxes and answer all these questions, and you type these things in and da, 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 da. I've seen it where you do all that paperwork while you wait for the first 15 minutes. And then for me, I prefer to just do it in the very first appointment because you're right there and you can clarify things. There's not any confusion about the questions, and you can explain what different terms mean if a client doesn't know, right? So if they're checking symptoms, they might not know what anhedonia is. And if they're in my session, I can explain. So anhedonia is this. Is that something that you experience? Oh, no. Oh, yes. Right. In terms of content of intake assessments, these are some basic things that an intake assessment would look at. So basic personal information, concerns, goals, employment history, family background, current living situation, challenges, obstacles, strengths and sources of support, current mental health status, and medical information. I would add something that'd be really important. I mean, I guess it could fall under the challenges and obstacles, But, if there's a criminal history at play, that's really important to know. If you're going into career counseling, if you know they've got 4 felonies, that's really going to help you with exploring options that are available to that person. And if you haven't already seen it, or you didn't watch that lecture on chapter 7, there is a felon-friendly employer list that I provided in that description, and I'll put it in the description of this lecture as well, just so that y'all have that. So application activity, if you want to, I think it's just a good way to practice. Maybe practice doing an assessment for Wayne or Lakeisha or Juan, any of these different clients from chapter 1, and just imagine what that might look like, what that might be like. And, honestly, I feel like doing these application activities could be really helpful by the time you get to actually seeing clients. You're like, oh, I remember when I did that one for Doris Bronner or for Wayne Jensen, right? I remember when I practiced that. It'll feel more natural, or it'll feel more practiced instead of the scary thing you've never tried before. So fortunately, in this activity, you don't get in trouble for messing up. It's almost kind of expected, right? You don't have to turn it in. You're not going to have any assignments related to it, but you're getting a practice of how would you write it? What would you say? What kind of information gets included? Okay, basic personal information. So I actually really love doing intake assessments with clients. I feel like it's a really wonderful opportunity to educate them on what counseling is, what it isn't, explain the consent process in a non-threatening way, and show clients compassion, acceptance, grace, non-judgmentalism. I'm very client-centered. I try to be very Rogerian towards my clients, like unconditional positive regard. Like, no matter what you tell me, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help you with what you want to talk about and what you want to tell me. And so I love the intake process, because a lot of the time clients, if you help them to feel comfortable, will be really open, or they can be really open and willing to share very deep and personal things that they've gone through. And so I love the intake process. It's maybe my favorite appointment. It's a lot of typing, because I do concurrent documentation at the same time. I type everything they're saying to me, even if it's in my office, I'll be typing while they're talking to me, just as a way to capture information more quickly. And I don't have to double notate where I write it, then I type it. It just saves a lot of time. So looking at basic personal information, it would be this kind of information: name, date of birth, city, address, right? What's your phone number? Are these things allowed for me to contact you? And then they can also offer these types of information, or you can request these types of information just to understand them. I ask about all these things. English is expected where I work, so that doesn't have to be asked. And then, of course, with career counseling, you want to know, are you eligible to be employed in the United States? Because if not, maybe we need to look at employment opportunities in another country. And then you got to look at their laws. You got to look at their stuff to be able to help this client if they're being deported or something like that. Okay, so concerns and goals. So these are some different things that you can offer in an assessment. What concerns bring you to my office? Bring you this session? How much of a problem is this for you? 1 to 10, 10 being the worst struggle you've ever had. Okay, and then what are some different areas where you need some help? Check, right? What would you like to accomplish in counseling? What are your current career goals? If you could do anything you wanted, what would it be? And this can kind of be a way to explore, what do they like? What do they dislike? Maybe get in touch with their inner child self. And if you could do absolutely anything you wanted for money, what would it be? Would you be a musician? Would you be an artist? Would you be a lawyer, right? What would that look like? And is it realistic? Education and training assessment. This is going to look, this might be more extensive than other parts, just because it depends on the education, the training that they've received. So this is going to involve schooling and what degrees they have, and GPA, class rank, how did they do with their grades, what kind of courses were they taking in high school, favorite, least favorite subject. This is kind of leaning into interest assessment in a way, where what do they like? What are they good at? What do they have good grades in, right? Also, you can look at extracurricular activities. What are things that they enjoy doing for fun? Also look at post-secondary education. So post-secondary would be anything after high school. So this would be four-year college, master's degree, doctorate degree, law degree, what have you. Also looking at these kinds of extracurricular activities. What were some of the things that you did? What did you do for fun? How much did you enjoy going to college? What did you do while you're there? Which can also lend to insight about what kind of careers might be beneficial for that person to explore. Then for for the degrees, diplomas, and certifications, you could do it like this, where it's kind of expanded into major institution and the dates that they were there. And if they got a degree or not, did they graduate or not? Did they take a hiatus? When did they start? When did they finish? Because if they took 9 years to finish a degree, that might be something worth exploring. Okay, what contributed to that? Oh, major health crisis. Oh, I was taking one class a semester because it was too overwhelming, right? You want to examine that stuff. And then looking at, as a student, this obviously takes insight. It takes willingness to be transparent about how they are as a student. So what ways do they learn? And there's actually, I just remembered something. There's a really cool test that I didn't think of when I was preparing these slides for whatever reason. It's a what type of learner are you quiz, where it's like kinetic, auditory, and visual learners quiz. I'm gonna see if I can find it. It's a little assessment, and it was so funny when I took it when I worked at the probation department. The score that I got said I was 33% in every area. So I learned 33% of the time auditorily, 33% of the time kinetic, and 33% of the time through visual learning. And, reflecting on that for my own self, I really think that was, it just depends what the topic is, like I played volleyball in college. And so that was very verbally tell me what I need to do and then show me how I need to do it different. And then I'm physically going to do it to make sure I'm doing it right. Right. So it just depends what it is. And it's just concretizing the information in 3 different ways for me. So for some people, it might be 80, 20, 0. It just depends person to person. So I'm going to see if I can't find that assessment for, well, this looks like a good website. I'll use this one. It's an education planner website. So I'll put that in the description of this presentation. So, okay. So yeah, what kind of learner are you? What helps you to learn? How confident are you in these abilities and things? Also looking at employment history, all these different things. Have you been fired? What did you like? What did you not like? That can be really useful information for figuring out how you can help a client with getting clarity about job things, career things. Past history, why'd you leave? What happened? My boss was a jerk. I was lazy. I was sick all the time. I couldn't go in. I got deployed. Like what happened at these places? Because if they have a new job every month, that might be indicative of undiagnosed bipolar disorder or something else, right? Or they have commitment issues or what have you. Okay. Also family background. This can also lend to the creation of a genogram. So you're getting the family background and you could turn it into a tree if you wanted to. But it's just a way to see like what kind of values education has the family gotten that might lend to pressure or expectations a client has on his, her, him, themselves regarding a career. So family background can be really useful information. And there's information about siblings you can put or significant other. You can also have them reflect on what kind of messages do you receive from your family about work that you do or a career that you have? What kind of role models exist in your family and why are they a role model to you? What have they done to be someone that is inspiring for you? Also, you can look at their family's decision-making style because maybe they really have adapted to their family style, adopted their family style. Maybe they've gone a totally different direction. It just can help you with understanding their decision-making process. And then looking at stressors can be really useful and helping them understand what are realistic expectations for yourself for a job in regards to having these 20 stressors checked off on the list. Sounds like we need to do some solution-focused brief therapy to calm this stuff down before we can really give full attention to your career, because you're really struggling with your mom dying in the hospital with cancer or whatever it is. You don't have time to be looking for jobs right now. I mean, or maybe they might say, no, I have to in order to help pay the bills or whatever it is. So, it's helpful to ask these kinds of questions so you can better target the career counseling you do with the client. So, also current living situation, this can be useful. Are they couch surfing? Are they living in a homeless shelter? Do they live with their parents? Do they have their own house? They have roommates, what's going on? These things can help with understanding their goals. Do I want to have my own place? Do I want to live with roommates? Do I want to move out of my parents' house? Whatever. Challenges and obstacles, of course, again, that can help with targeting interventions as well as the provision of resources that you engage in. Personal strengths. This is something that you might just ask, what's your, in terms of their insight, what do you think you're good at? What are your strengths? Do you think any of these things are your strengths? And of course, assessments later, like the Myers-Briggs or the Cooter or these other different kinds of things, can be used for better identifying strengths that exist. Also, I think it's really important to look at sources of support. Who are your go-to people to talk to or to turn to when things aren't going so great? Do you pray? Do you go to church? Do you call your mom, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner? Who you call? You talk to? And that can also be something that you can encourage further development of in treatment, helping them to develop a greater support system as they go through stressful career changes. Health status is also something useful to acknowledge. So do they have ADHD? Do they have lupus or rheumatoid arthritis? Are they overcoming cancer and they're going through chemo, right? What kind of health issues do they have that might impact their career development or career counseling or ability to even hold a job, right? Do they need accommodations somewhere? Is that something you need to help with advocacy with related to ADA, Civil Rights Act stuff? And then you can have them provide the medication, the dosage, and the reason they take the different things that they do. You can also have them include what do you call them? Supplements, vitamins that they take, and ask them about alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, because those are things that can affect concentration and effectiveness in completing goals. Also, you can ask about history of substance abuse in these different areas, as well as how confident they are that they would pass a drug screen if it was part of, drug screening for a job. It's important information to ask part of a career because a lot of jobs ask for that. And then you also want to look at setting specific content for intake assessment. So formal intakes aren't usually used for kindergarten through 12-year-olds in those settings. But in college settings, there's more emphasis on academic major, the career path. What are you going to do when you graduate? Where are you going to go? Do you want to get an internship somewhere? That's what you want to do. Do you want to get a part-time job at Exxon since you want to be a petroleum engineer? Like, do you want to be a receptionist there and work your way up? Like, looking at that kind of stuff. So career counseling is going to look different for a 9th grader than it is for somebody in 22nd grade, right? Which would be somebody in their 3rd doctorate or whatever, right? Or somebody that's in 5th, 14th grade, right? They're junior in college. It's going to look different what they're looking at. So last slide here, government employment office settings, career counseling might look at emphasis on finding a job or being mandated as a condition of an unemployment office. And then rehabilitation counseling settings are designed to serve people with acquired or lifelong disabilities. So they're going to use intakes as a means of establishing eligibility for receipt of the services that they offer. So those places are going to focus more on challenges, obstacles, and their current health and medical information that warrants them eligible for the services that they provide and helping them find ways to rehabilitate to be able to work or discover if disability or SSDI, SSI needs to be employed. So, okay, questions, comments are so welcome in the chat. I will put the learning style quiz that I found in the description below the video in the what do you call it? The description box below. The words are escaping me today. A description, excuse me. And then I will also put the felon-friendly employer list as well. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.